The autumn storm raged outside the Royal Botanical Research Institute's greenhouse complex, but Dr. Olivia Blackwood barely noticed. Her attention remained fixed on the peculiar growth patterns of her experimental hybrid plants, their leaves shimmering with an unusual iridescence under the specialized growing lights. At 32, she had already revolutionized the field of adaptive botany, though tonight her thoughts drifted to the loneliness of her dedication. The facility's midnight silence wrapped around her like a familiar blanket, broken only by the gentle hum of climate control systems. The first sign that something was wrong came when her plants began to pulse with an ethereal blue light. The environmental readouts on her tablet spiraled into chaos, and the air crackled with static electricity. Olivia's heart thundered in her chest as a blinding flash illuminated the sky above the greenhouse's transparent panels, followed by the sound of something massive tearing through the atmosphere. The impact shook the entire complex. Olivia stumbled, catching herself against a workbench as soil and shattered pots cascaded to the floor. Through the rain-streaked glass, she saw it, a sleek vessel half buried in her experimental garden, its surface rippling like liquid starlight. Steam rose from its hull, mixing with the cold rain to create an otherworldly mist. Professional curiosity warred with self-preservation as she approached the crash site. The vessel's seamless surface began to shift, revealing a transparent section that looked almost like a viewport. Inside, she could make out two figures, one larger, clearly injured, and a smaller one that pressed against the transparent barrier with obvious desperation. "Hello?" Olivia called out, her voice steady despite her racing pulse. Can you understand me?" "We understand." The thought materialized in her mind, accompanied by a sensation of pain and urgency. "Please, my daughter." The transparent section dissolved, and Olivia found herself face to face with beings that defied her scientific understanding. Their skin seemed to shift like the aurora borealis, transparent enough to see the complex network of luminescent vessels beneath. The larger one, the adult, slumped forward, silvery fluid seeping from several wounds. The smaller one, who couldn't have been more than a child, reached out with delicate fingers that ended in points of light. "Help him, please. The bad one's hurt father." "I'm Dr. Olivia Blackwood," she said, already moving to support the injured alien's weight. "I'm a botanist, not a medical doctor, but I have emergency medical training. Let me help you inside." "I am Kalen," the adult projected weakly, diplomatic envoy of the Celestial Concordat. "This is my daughter, Naira. We." His thought voice faltered as he stumbled. Olivia helped them into her research lab, securing the doors behind them. She knew she should alert authorities, but something in Naira's desperate expression and Kalen's dignified bearing despite his injuries made her hesitate. Their presence here was no accident, they had been attacked, were running from something or someone. As she gathered medical supplies, Naira hovered near her father, small hands creating intricate patterns of light that seemed to ease his pain. Kalen's wounds looked severe, but the silvery fluid that served as their blood was already beginning to coagulate. "Your physiology is fascinating," Olivia murmured as she cleaned the injuries, noting how their skin responded to her touch by changing colors. "These wounds, energy weapons?" "Void Dominion raiders," Kalen confirmed. "They oppose our mission of peaceful contact with emerging civilizations. They believe humanity should be conquered, not welcomed as equals." His thought voice carried undertones of sorrow and determination. Naira moved closer to Olivia, her large, faceted eyes reflecting the lab's lights like scattered diamonds. "You're not afraid of us," she observed with childlike directness. "The others we've watched were always afraid." "I'm terrified," Olivia admitted with a small smile, "but not of you. I'm afraid of making mistakes while helping your father, of what this means for our world, of what might happen to you both if the wrong people find you here." She finished bandaging Kalen's worst injury, using sterile dressings that seemed to integrate surprisingly well with their unusual biology. "Your honesty is refreshing," Kalen projected, his color patterns stabilizing into calmer rhythms. And your help is more meaningful than you know. We chose this facility because our scans showed advanced botanical research. We hoped. A distant alarm began to wail, cutting off his thought. Olivia's tablet lit up with security notifications. The crash had not gone unnoticed, and response teams were mobilizing. We don't have much time, she said, quickly gathering supplies. There's an abandoned hydroponics lab in the basement level. The shielding for the old-growth experiments should help mask your energy signatures. She paused, knowing her next words would change her life forever. I'll help you, but I need to understand everything. What really brought you to Earth? Kalen's surface rippled with patterns that somehow conveyed both gratitude and gravity. A choice, Dr. Blackwood. A choice that could determine the future of both our peoples. The Void Dominion grows stronger, and Earth's position on the spiral arm makes it crucial for galactic stability. We came seeking allies, but found. His thought voice softened as he looked at her, perhaps more than we expected. Naira took Olivia's hand, her touch sending tiny sparkles of light dancing across their joined fingers. Father says sometimes the universe brings souls together across the stars. Like a garden growing in space. Olivia smiled at the child's poetic description, even as she led them toward the hidden laboratory that would become their sanctuary. She had spent her life studying how different species could adapt and grow together in unlikely conditions. Perhaps this was the ultimate test of that principle, not just plants, but entire civilizations, finding ways to thrive together. As they descended into the darkness of the basement level, Olivia felt the weight of her decision, but also an unfamiliar lightness in her heart. She had always seen beauty in the way life found new paths to flourish. Now, watching Kalen protect his daughter while trusting her, a stranger from another world, she realized that some bonds transcended the barriers of species and space. The sound of boots and voices echoed from above as they sealed themselves inside the old lab. Olivia knew that come morning, she would have to navigate a complex web of lies and half-truths to protect her new charges. But for now, as she helped Kalen settle onto an improvised bed while Naira created soothing patterns of light around them, she felt more alive than she had in years. The storm continued to rage outside, but within their hidden sanctuary, something beautiful and unprecedented was taking root, like the most unlikely of her hybrid plants, defying conventional wisdom to create something entirely new. Dawn crept through the narrow ventilation shafts of the abandoned hydroponics lab, casting thin ribbons of light across the repurposed space. Dr. Olivia Blackwood sat at her makeshift workstation, reviewing security footage on a tablet while occasionally glancing at her unusual companions. A week had passed since the crash, and she had successfully convinced her superiors that the incident had been a meteorological anomaly, buying precious time for her guests to heal. Kalen stood by the old-growth chambers, now transformed into a living space. His wounds had nearly healed, his crystalline skin now rippling with healthier patterns of light. He held his hands over one of Olivia's experimental plants, and she watched in fascination as it responded to his touch, its leaves stretching toward his luminescent fingers. The molecular reconstruction abilities of your species are extraordinary, Olivia said, setting aside her tablet. You're actually communicating with it at a cellular level, aren't you? Yes, Kalen's thought voice carried a hint of pleasure at her scientific curiosity. All life shares a fundamental harmony, what your physicists might call quantum entanglement. We've simply learned to sense and direct these connections. He turned to her, his faceted eyes catching the dim light. Your own work with hybrid species shows remarkable intuition about these principles. Naira, who had been practicing her own abilities with a small cluster of seedlings, bounded over with childlike enthusiasm. Look what I made, Father. The plants had formed an intricate spiral pattern, their leaves shimmering with borrowed bioluminescence. Dr. Olivia's plants remember the songs we teach them. Olivia smiled at the child's excitement, but her expression grew serious as she pulled up new security feeds. The military's expanding their search pattern. They're not buying the meteor story anymore. She ran a hand through her dark hair, exhaustion evident in her gesture. We need to understand what we're really dealing with here. You mentioned the Void Dominion before, tell me everything. Kalen's surface rippled with dark patterns, reflecting his concern. The galaxy is far more populated than your people realize. Most civilizations belong to various alliances. Ours, the Celestial Concordat, promotes peaceful cooperation and cultural exchange. The Void Dominion. His thoughts carried images of massive warships and worlds reduced to ash. They believe that technological advancement gives them the right to subjugate lesser species. And Earth is caught in the middle, Olivia concluded, understanding dawning. Our location makes us strategically valuable. Yes. But it's more than that. Kalen moved closer, his presence sending a subtle warmth through the air. Your species has something rare, extraordinary adaptability and resilience. The Dominion fears what humanity might become if allowed to develop freely. They want to enslave your potential before you can challenge them. Naira had gone quiet, her small form dimming slightly. They hurt many worlds, Dr. Olivia. Father tries to stop them, to find friends instead of slaves, but they follow us everywhere. Olivia reached out instinctively to comfort the child, marveling at how natural it felt when Naira's light-tipped fingers intertwined with her own. The contact sent tingles of alien warmth up her arm, along with impressions of emotions too complex for words. Your ability to share thoughts and feelings, she said softly, it's not just communication, is it? It's true empathy, actual sharing of consciousness. To varying degrees, Kalen confirmed, watching their interaction with an expression Olivia was learning to read as tenderness. The stronger the emotional connection, the deeper the sharing can become. A comfortable silence fell as Olivia processed this information, broken only by the gentle hum of equipment and Naira's quiet humming as she returned to her plants. The past week had changed everything Olivia thought she knew about life, the universe, and her place in it. More than that, it had filled an emptiness she hadn't fully acknowledged before. There's something else, she said finally. Something you haven't told me about why you chose this facility, this location. She met Kalen's crystalline gaze steadily. And why you trust me so completely. Kalen's surface shifted through complex patterns before settling into a deep, resonant blue. We've been observing Earth for some time, studying potential first contact scenarios. I was drawn to your work, your publications about cooperative adaptation between species. But more than that. His thought voice softened. We can sense compatible consciousness patterns, minds that could potentially achieve deep empathic bonds with our kind. You showed an extraordinary potential for such connection. You came here looking for me, Olivia whispered, her heart racing as pieces fell into place. Not just the facility. Yes. Though I didn't expect. His thoughts carried complex harmonics of wonder and uncertainty. The depth of compatibility is far greater than our scan suggested. Naira sensed it immediately. As if summoned by her name, Naira appeared between them. Father's patterns get brighter when he's near you, she observed innocently. Like my plants reaching for light. Olivia felt heat rise to her cheeks, but before she could respond, her tablet erupted with urgent alerts. Security cameras showed military vehicles approaching the facility's main gate. Among them was a specialized sensor unit, the kind designed to detect unusual energy signatures. They're here, she said, jumping to her feet. And they have equipment that might be able to detect you through the shielding. Kalen moved with liquid grace, gathering their few belongings while Naira quickly dimmed her bioluminescence. We can't risk capture. The Void Dominion has infiltrators in many Earth governments. If they learn we're here. There's a network of maintenance tunnels under the facility, Olivia said, already moving to a hidden access panel. They were used for the original geothermal system. I've mapped them all. She hesitated, then made a decision that would forever alter her path. "I'm coming with you. Olivia." Kaylin's thought voice carried concern. "The danger is already my choice to face," she finished firmly. "You're not the only ones who can sense compatible consciousness patterns. I've felt it too, this connection. I won't let you face this alone." As they disappeared into the tunnels, Olivia caught a final glimpse of her life's work through the closing panel. But looking at Kaylin's illuminated form guiding them through the darkness, Naira's small hand trustingly in hers, she knew she was moving towards something far more significant than what she left behind. In the depths beneath the facility, as distant voices echoed through the corridors above, three beings from different worlds moved as one through the shadows. They carried with them not just hope for survival, but the seeds of something unprecedented, a bridge between stars, between species, between hearts that recognized each other across the vast distances of space. The mountain cabin's windows rattled against the winter wind as Olivia secured the blackout curtains. 2 weeks had passed since their escape through the maintenance tunnels, and this remote sanctuary, her family's long-abandoned vacation home, had become their temporary refuge. Snow isolated them from the world, but it also meant any approach would be visible for miles. She turned from the window to find Kaylin watching her, his crystalline form casting soft light patterns across the rustic wooden walls. In the short time they'd known each other, she'd learned to read the subtle shifts in his bioluminescence. Concern tinged his current glow with deeper blues. "The supplies should last us another week," she said, answering his unspoken question. After that, she left the thought unfinished, moving to check on Naira, who slept peacefully in a nest of blankets near the fireplace. "Your world grows more dangerous for us with each passing day," Kaylin projected, his thought voice carrying undertones of guilt. "The choice to involve you weighs heavily on me." Olivia knelt beside him, close enough to feel the gentle warmth that radiated from his crystalline form. "I made my own choice, Kaylin. And I'd make it again." She reached out, watching as his surface rippled in response to her touch. The connection between them had grown stronger, more intuitive. Sometimes she caught fragments of his thoughts even without direct communication. "The empathic bond deepens," he observed, his patterns shifting to warmer hues. "Few humans would be capable of such adaptation." "Few humans meet aliens worth adapting for," she replied with a small smile, but it faded as she checked her secured tablet. "The manhunt's getting worse. They're calling me a traitor on the news, claiming I stole classified research. Director Russell is leading the investigation himself." The mention of her former mentor sent a chill through her that had nothing to do with the winter storm. Thomas Russell had been like a father to her throughout her career, championing her unconventional research when others dismissed it. The betrayal in his voice during the press conferences cut deep. A soft glow announced Naira's awakening. The child moved to join them, her light-tipped fingers creating dancing patterns in the air. "I dreamed of home," she projected. "Of the crystal forests and singing seas. Could we show Dr. Olivia someday, Father?" Before Kaylin could respond, Olivia's tablet erupted with alerts. Security systems she'd installed around the property had detected movement, multiple vehicles approaching up the snow-covered access road. "Impossible," she breathed, pulling up the camera feeds. "Nobody knows about this place except..." Her blood ran cold as she recognized the lead vehicle's driver. "Marcus. My research assistant. He's the only one I told about the cabin years ago. He must have betrayed your trust," Kaylin finished, already moving to gather their emergency supplies. "The Void Dominion's influence runs deep. They likely promised him something in exchange for information." Naira pressed close to Olivia, her form dimming with fear. "The bad ones are coming too. I can feel them." Almost in response to her words, a low hum filled the air, the distinctive sound of advanced technology that Olivia had come to associate with alien vessels. Through the curtains, she caught glimpses of dark shapes descending from the storm clouds. "The back tunnel," she said, pulling aside a concealed trapdoor. "The original miners used it as an escape route. It leads to a hidden valley, but we have to move fast." They descended into darkness, guided only by Kalen and Naira's natural bioluminescence. The tunnel's rough walls wept with moisture, and the air grew colder as they moved deeper into the mountain. Behind them, muffled explosions signaled their pursuers' arrival. "They'll track our energy signatures," Kalen projected urgently. "Even at minimal output, they can follow our trail." "Then we'll give them a false one," Olivia replied, removing a device from her pack. "I've been studying your bioluminescent patterns. This transmitter should mimic them enough to confuse their sensors, at least temporarily." Kalen's surface rippled with surprise and admiration. "You never cease to amaze me, Olivia Blackwood. Even now, your mind seeks solutions where others would see only obstacles." They reached a fork in the tunnel, and Olivia quickly set up the transmitter. As they took the left path, she activated it remotely, sending false readings down the right tunnel. The sound of pursuit grew louder, echoing through the mountain's heart. Naira stumbled, exhausted from maintaining minimal luminescence. Olivia lifted the child without hesitation, feeling the familiar tingle of their consciousness brushing together. In the weeks since their meeting, the young alien had carved out a space in her heart that Olivia hadn't known was empty. "The storm grows stronger above," Kalen projected after what felt like hours of running. "It will provide cover once we reach the valley, but—" He paused, his patterns shifting to urgent crimson. "Multiple vessels converging. They're trying to surround us." Olivia's mind raced. The valley ahead offered no shelter, and returning wasn't an option. They needed a third choice. Her years of research into adaptive systems had taught her that survival often meant finding unexpected combinations. "The river," she said suddenly. "There's an underground river that feeds the valley. The mineral content interferes with scanning equipment, it's why my experimental hybrid plants grew so strangely here. If we can reach it." "The cold would kill a human," Kalen projected with immediate concern. "Not with your help." She met his crystalline gaze steadily. "You can regulate thermal energy through your bioluminescence. If we deepen our empathic bond, could you extend that protection to me?" The implications hung in the space between them. Such deep connection would be irreversible, permanently linking their consciousness in ways neither fully understood. In Naira's arms, Olivia felt the child's excitement at the possibility. "It would change you," Kalen warned, even as his surface swirled with complex emotions. "Parts of you would become like us, and we have no way of knowing exactly how." Another explosion rocked the tunnel, closer this time. Their pursuers had seen through the decoy. Olivia reached out, her fingers intertwining with Kalen's crystalline ones. "I started changing the moment I met you," she said softly. "Sometimes the most beautiful adaptations come from necessity." Their consciousness merged as Kalen initiated the bond, and Olivia gasped as new awareness flooded her senses. She could feel the crystalline structure of the mountain around them, sense the electric potential in the storm above, and most importantly, experience the depth of Kalen's feelings for her, wonder, admiration, and something deeper that defied translation. Together, they moved toward the sound of rushing water, their minds and hearts linked in ways that bridged the vast gulf between their species. Behind them, two worlds converged in pursuit. But ahead lay possibility, a future as unexplored and promising as the hybrid gardens Olivia had spent her life cultivating. The underground river churned beneath the starlit sky as Olivia, Kalen, and Naira emerged from a hidden cave mouth. Their empathic bond hummed with shared warmth, protecting them from the winter's bite. 3 days had passed since their escape through the subterranean waters, and the changes in Olivia were becoming more apparent. Faint luminescent patterns now traced her skin in moments of strong emotion, an unexpected side effect of their deepened connection. They made their way to the concealed location where Kalen's ship had been moved after the crash, hidden beneath a holographic camouflage field in a deep mountain valley. The vessel had spent weeks repairing itself, its liquid metal surface now restored to its original seamless perfection. "The repairs are complete," Kalen projected, his thought voice carrying complex harmonics of relief and uncertainty. "We could leave Earth's atmosphere within moments if necessary." Olivia ran her fingers along the ship's responsive surface, feeling it ripple beneath her touch. Her enhanced senses, a gift of their bond, could now perceive the intricate energy patterns flowing through its structure. "How long before the Void Dominion realizes we escaped their trap?" "They already know." Kalen's patterns shifted to warning reds. "Their warships hold position beyond your moon, waiting. They believe we'll attempt to flee." Naira, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly stiffened. "Father. The bad ones, they're coming. Many of them." Multiple sonic booms shattered the night silence as dark shapes descended through the clouds. Unlike Kalen's elegant vessel, these ships bristled with aggressive angles and weapon ports. They formed a circle around the valley, cutting off any escape route to the sky. Olivia's tablet lit up with urgent alerts. "Military forces are converging too. Someone tracked our energy signatures." She met Kalen's crystalline gaze. "We're surrounded. Then the time for hiding is over." Kalen's form pulsed with determined light. "Olivia, you must take Naira in the ship. It will recognize you now through our bond. I'll hold them off while you—" "No." Olivia's voice was firm, her newly luminescent patterns flaring with conviction. "We're not separating. There has to be another way." Her scientific mind raced through possibilities, combining her knowledge of Earth's defenses with what she'd learned of alien technology. "The military and the Void Dominion don't trust each other. We can use that." A harsh voice cut through their discussion, amplified across the valley. "Dr. Olivia Blackwood. This is Director Russell. You are surrounded by United States military forces. Surrender the aliens immediately." Almost simultaneously, a different voice resonated directly in their minds, cold and artificial. "Diplomatic Envoy Kalen, your interference in this system ends now. Surrender the human and your offspring. The Celestial Concordat cannot protect you here." Olivia felt Naira's fear through their shared connection, but also the child's unwavering trust in both her and Kalen. An idea crystallized in her mind, dangerous, but with a chance of success. "Your ship's communication array," she said quickly. "Can it broadcast on all frequencies, including human military bands?" "Yes, but—" "And can it project holographic images into the atmosphere, large enough for everyone to see?" "The energy expenditure would be significant, but possible." Kalen's patterns shifted with growing understanding. "You intend to show them everything?" Olivia smiled, her skin shimmering with purpose. "The truth about both sides. The Void Dominion's atrocities and their infiltration of Earth's military. The Celestial Concordat's peaceful intentions. Our bond." She touched the ship's hull, and it responded to her enhanced consciousness, panels sliding open. "They're both so focused on keeping their secrets. Let's take that weapon away." Military helicopters roared overhead as they rushed into the ship. Olivia's fingers flew over the crystalline control surfaces, her consciousness merging with the ship's systems through their shared connection with Kalen. Naira added her own strength to their bond, her young mind amplifying the signal. The night sky transformed into a vast canvas. Images appeared in the clouds, worlds burning under Void Dominion attacks, peaceful alien civilizations reaching out in friendship, the corruption of Earth officials who had been compromised. Most powerfully, they broadcast the truth of their own story, a human and two aliens choosing trust over fear, love over division, hope over hatred. "Stop them." The Void Dominion commander's mental voice cracked with rage. Their ships opened fire, but Kalen's vessel's shields held, strengthened by their combined will. "Hold your fire." Director Russell's voice carried confusion and dawning horror as he witnessed evidence of his own organization's infiltration. "Stand down until we can verify." A massive ship dropped out of hyperspace directly above them, its design an organic blend of crystal and light that marked it as celestial Concordat construction. Smaller vessels poured from its hangars, engaging the Void Dominion ships with precise efficiency. The distress signal, Kalen projected with relief. "When we merged our consciousness, it strengthened enough to reach the Concordat fleet." Through their bond, Olivia felt the moment the tide turned. The Void Dominion ships, caught between Earth's military and Concordat forces, began to retreat. On the ground, soldiers lowered their weapons, their worldview fundamentally shaken by the truth they'd witnessed. Director Russell's voice came again, subdued. "Dr. Blackwood. Olivia. I think we need to talk. All of us." Olivia looked at Kalen and Naira, feeling the strength of their connection, the love that had grown between them. Their bond had not only saved them but might now help forge a new understanding between their peoples. Through their shared consciousness, she felt Kalen's deep appreciation for her solution, using truth and transparency to combat fear and secrecy. "Your adaptation continues to astonish," Kalen projected warmly. "You've given both our peoples a chance at something remarkable." Naira created a shower of joyful light patterns around them. "Can we show them the crystal forests now? And Dr. Olivia's plants? They could grow together." Olivia smiled, her own bioluminescence dancing in response to their shared joy. The choice before her, between worlds, between lives, no longer felt like a choice at all. She had already found her place among the stars, not just with Kalen and Naira, but as a bridge between two civilizations that desperately needed to understand each other. The ship hummed beneath them as dawn broke over the mountain valley. Above, Concordat ships took up protective positions while Earth's military established a peaceful perimeter. The first step toward official first contact had begun, born from the unlikely love between a human scientist and an alien diplomat who had dared to trust each other across the vast distances of space. Spring sunlight streamed through the crystalline dome of the newly established Interstellar Botanical Research Center, catching rainbow refractions in its faceted surface. 6 months had passed since the confrontation in the mountain valley, and the world had changed in ways few could have imagined. Dr. Olivia Blackwood stood before a gathering of human and alien scientists, her skin shimming faintly with bioluminescent patterns as she presented her latest findings. The hybrid integration of Earth's botanical species with celestial Concordat bioengineering has exceeded all expectations, she explained, gesturing to the extraordinary garden behind her. Terrestrial plants intertwined with crystalline growths, creating structures that were both beautiful and revolutionary. These new species aren't just surviving, they're developing communication networks that bridge our different approaches to biological engineering. From his position near the front, Kalen watched with pride as Olivia commanded the attention of both species. Their bond had only grown stronger over the months, allowing them to work in perfect synchronization on projects that would have been impossible for either species alone. His surface rippled with warm colors that Olivia felt through their connection, love, admiration, and perpetual amazement at how she continued to evolve. Near the garden's heart, Naira led a group of human and alien children through the living crystals, teaching them how to sense the subtle energy patterns of the hybrid plants. Her natural talent for bridging cultures had made her an unofficial ambassador between species. "Watch this." She projected excitedly, causing a cluster of crystal flowers to create dancing patterns of light that responded to the children's emotions. After the presentation, Director Russell, now Earth's chief liaison to the celestial Concordat, approached them. The months had softened the military bearing he'd carried for decades. "The Security Council has approved the next phase of cultural exchange," he said, his eyes catching the ethereal glow of the garden. "They're calling it the Blackwood Protocol, establishing bonds between compatible individuals from both species to facilitate deeper understanding. Olivia felt Kalen's surprise and joy echo through their connection. They had hoped their successful bond might pave the way for others, but official recognition exceeded their expectations. "Your people continue to surprise us with their capacity for adaptation," Kalen projected, including Russell in the communication. "When we first considered contact, many in the Concordat doubted humans could accept such profound changes. We've had good teachers," Russell replied with a wry smile, having grown comfortable with telepathic communication. "Though I doubt we'll see another pair quite like you two. The depth of your bond is unprecedented." As if to demonstrate his point, Olivia instinctively steadied Kalen when a sudden burst of solar activity created electromagnetic interference, something only she could have sensed through their shared consciousness. Their movements had become so synchronized that others often joked they were one being in two bodies. Later that evening, they stood in their private garden at home, where their story had begun. The old research facility had been transformed into a sprawling complex of human and alien architecture, but they'd preserved this space as a reminder of their first meeting. Naira's original light patterns still danced among the plants she'd first practiced with, now grown into mature specimens that defied traditional classification. "Sometimes I wonder," Olivia said softly, watching the sunset paint colors across Kalen's crystalline form, "if somewhere in the universe, another version of us never took those first risks. Never trusted enough to reach across the void between our species. In infinite possibilities, there must be such versions," Kalen responded, drawing her closer. "But I prefer our reality." His surface shifted to display their shared memories, the first moment in the greenhouse, their escape through the tunnels, the deep bond forged in crisis, and the thousands of small moments that had led them here. Naira emerged from her evening meditation, her young form glowing with contentment. "Father, can you tell Dr. Olivia about the binding ceremony now? The one you've been planning?" Kalen's patterns shifted to embarrassed violet as Olivia turned to him with raised eyebrows. "I had hoped to prepare a more formal moment," he projected, his thought voice carrying undertones of nervous affection. "The Concordat has ancient rituals for recognizing unions between species. Rare as they are, they're considered sacred." "Yes," Olivia said before he could finish, her own bioluminescence flaring with joy. "Of course, yes." Their consciousnesses merged more deeply in that moment, sharing emotions too profound for words in any language. "I helped choose the crystals for the ceremony," Naira announced proudly. "They'll grow into a garden that shows your whole story." As night fell over the research center, lights began to glow in the crystalline structures, some electric, some bioluminescent, creating a perfect harmony of both worlds. In the garden, 3 figures stood wrapped in patterns of light that spoke of family, of love that transcended species, of bridges built between the stars. Olivia looked up at the visible Concordat ships keeping peaceful watch over Earth, their crystalline forms now a familiar part of the night sky. Humanity was taking its first steps into a larger universe, learning to adapt and grow in ways she had once only dreamed of. Through their bond, she felt Kalen's quiet certainty that together, they would face whatever challenges the future held. In the end, their story had become more than just a tale of unusual romance, it was a blueprint for 2 civilizations learning to trust, adapt, and grow together. As their garden flourished with impossible hybrid life reaching toward the stars, it stood as living proof that love, in all its forms, could bridge even the vast distances between worlds. The soft light of Earth's moon mingled with the bioluminescence of their family, creating new patterns that had never existed before in the history of either species. In this garden where it all began, they had planted the seeds of a future that would continue to evolve and grow, reaching ever outward to new possibilities among the stars.